Hey guys, my name's Max Convexity. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I have a great video planned today and I'm excited to tell you about it. Last month I did a video where I looked at all the high yield ETFs and I looked at their parent assets and I measured which ones had the most tracking error and which ones had the least tracking error, and I did an end of year wrap up. The video was very well received, so I decided to make it a monthly feature. So here we are at the last day of January and it's time to look at the January results. Stick around, we'll get right in the middle of it. Let's start here with Tesla right now. All right, Tesla, everyone's favorite, was down 20.89% this month. Parent asset was down 24.61. So Tesla had about a 15% buffer in this case. If we look down here to the curve list, we have TSLP. TSLP was down 22.11, whereas Tesla, of course, was down 24.61. So TSLP did not have as much buffer. That's what we would expect because TSLP uses the monthly options and they don't offer as much buffer. But that's good when it's going up because buffer works both ways. All right, so here's Coney. Coney had a pretty good 32% buffer. Coinbase was down 18.2. Coney was only down 12.5. And look, NVIDIA actually had buffer on the upside, which is not where you want it, but I mean, that's the way buffer works. You get it both ways. NVIDIA was up 30% on the month. NVIDIA was up 15%, about a 50% buffer on that. That's, like I say, that's nice, especially on the downside. All right, APLY is pretty much a wash. Apple was down a little bit. APLY, just call that a wash. AMZY, Amazon was up 3.5%. AMZY was up 1.3%. I guess that's fine. All right, here's a good one. AMDY was up 21%. Unfortunately, AMDY was only up 6.5%. Unfortunately, AMD was up 21%. So this has a lot of buffer or, drag because it's on the upside. It's hard to get mad when your ETF goes up 6% in a month, but it did lag quite a bit. Now, Sky, actually Square was down 10.3 and Sky was down 9.9. Sky caught just about all the downside in that case. No real buffer to be seen there. Now, mRNA had some good buffer. mRNA was down 10.1, where MRNY was down 4.5. So that's some good downside buffer there. It's about a 56% buffer. All right, Google was up a point. GOI was down 2 points. I don't know what to think about that. That was looking a lot better before today, or whenever Google reported earnings, they were actually having a decent month until that happened. All right, AIYY. So parent asset was down 13.7%, and AIYY was down 9.3. That's not bad. Nice little 30% buffer there. OARC had a really nice buffer too. Parent asset down 10, OARC down 6.7. It's a 33% buffer. That's nice. Here's Meta. Meta had a nice month. Or Meta was up 12.6%. Yeah, damn sure had a nice month, but FBY was up 7.62%. So it's about a 40% buffer at work there. Infly had a heck of a month. Netflix was up 20% and Infly was up 13.2%. Great job. That's about a 30% buffer. Disney up nearly 6 points. DISO up 4.5. Microsoft up 7.2. MSFO up 5.8. It's about a 20% buffer. XOMO. We're just going to call this one a wash. ExxonMobil ExxonMobil was up 0.5%. XYLD was down 1%. So pretty close on that one. JP Morgan was actually, this is the one high yielder that outperformed its underlying over a month. You know, you see it over a day or a couple of days sometimes, but it doesn't usually happen over a month. JP Morgan was up 1.94 and JPMO was up 1.98. Now, PayPal and PYPY did not look good. Quite a bit of underperformance there by PYPY. All right, so here you can see it graphically. The blue is the high yield asset, the change on the high yield asset over the course of a month. And the red is the actual parent asset or the underlying. And so you would always expect the red to go further than the blue because the parent asset is always going to be more volatile, or that's the way it's designed to be. That's what a buffer does for you, is it buffers the volatility out of it. It knocks off some highs and it knocks off some lows. So you can see that works exactly as expected, except in the case of, well, no, that works there too. The blue just should never lead the way. The blue leads the way on XOMO, but that's such a small change, I really don't think it matters. But the blue definitely leads the way by a pretty good margin on PYPY. PYPY is the big loser of the month on this sheet. And hell, TSLY and CONY did not look great either. Really, the worst one actually, at least TSLY and CONY had nice buffers. The worst one was Sky, because it lost just about the same as the parent asset did. It virtually had no buffer. Sky and PYPY are the most disappointing, but you know, TSLY and CONY, not great months though. All right, let's go down here to the curve funds. We have AMZP and Amazon. We're going to call that a wash. They were both up about a little more than 3%. All right, so Apple, we've already talked about Apple. Apple was down 0.67, but AAPY was, call it unchanged. So that's pretty close. Then you have Google up 1.4 and Goop up 2.17. Wow, that's leading the way. You don't usually see that, especially over the course of a month. Goop outperforming Google. Microsoft and MSFY is about what you'd expect. Microsoft's definitely performing better, but there's a little buffer there, about a 7% buffer. All right, so NFLP was up 15.5%, whereas Netflix was up 20%. And then we have TSLP was down 22%, where the parent Tesla was down 24.6%. You look over here and you look at it graphically. You don't want the blue ones to lead the way. Something I noticed. So look at all these changes right here. You know, this one, the blue, the parent, the high yield asset change. This one was up 22% or down 22%. This one was up 15%. Anyway, I just took the total that they were either up or down and I averaged it. On the high yield funds, the average is 5.5. The average fund was up or down 5.5. So that's kind of how volatile it is. It's a real simple measure of volatility. So look down here. We have like 15, I think 14 or 15 index funds now that I'm tracking right here. Here's the S&P ones, the NASDAQ ones, and there's 2 Russell ones. Anyway, these were down, or these were up or down 2.2. So you could see just a real 2.2% over the month. So the single stocks, 5.5. The index is 2.2. Doesn't mean the indexes are perfect, but they are less volatile by about that amount. That's one way a real simple way, back of the napkin way to measure volatility. All right, but let's see the individual performers here. The best one was SPY. These guys, you know, the S&P was up 2.17% on the month. even after today. But the SPY was up 2.14. Great job, SPY. Then look at this. Bali actually outperformed the index. 2.41 versus 2.17. So we're definitely going to call SPY and Bali the winners. The winners here. You could see, you know, JEPY had a lot of buffer, which would have been great on the downside, but on the upside, it's not so good. We can't choose though. Same thing with QQQY. QQQY had a lot of buffer. You can just see graphically QQQY had the most buffer just by eyeballing it. You could see that XYLD and JEPY up here in the S&P high yield funds had the most buffer. Yeah, Bali outperformed. Look at that. That's crazy. Look at this. Okay, so JEPQ also outperformed 3.75, whereas the parent asset, which of course is NASDAQ, got 3.59. Nice job, JEPQ. Nice job, guys. All right. Seeing here if there's any other ones. Yeah, FEPI, I don't have I know what the parent asset is. It's a Selective Fang and Innovation Index, but I can't find a good source of historical quotes on it. So right now I'm using NASDAQ's price for FEPI's underlying. Anyway, FEPI had a great day, up 3.3%. QYLD up 3.7%. They had a great day. Now these guys just are they're a half overwrite fund. They don't overwrite all the contracts. So they keep some of their shares unencumbered by call options. So on half their portfolio, they don't have a cap. So they get a lot more upside. And sure enough, we could see it in the numbers here. You could see they're outperforming the index, and you would expect that. I may drop QYLG. I like that fund and I want to follow it, but it's not really fair to compare it with these other ones. I also put XYLG on here, which is the S&P half overwrite fund. Like I say, I may take them off next month. I just like to follow them. I mean, XYLG was up 1.9%. And SPX was up 2.1%. That's pretty good. You know, that's pretty close. Same thing. Look at QYLG was actually up more than NASDAQ. And the reason is, and that's what we'd expect, because they don't sell all the calls that they could. They also just pay 6%, whereas the other Global X funds pay 12%. So it's a trade-off like everything. Speaking of Global X funds, look at this one, RYLD, which is the Global X Russell Fund. Well, I was going to say it outperformed, but it actually didn't. IWMY outperformed. IWMY was the big performer here because IWMY just lost 1.7, where the Russell lost 3.3. The Global X Russell Fund, which is RYLD, lost 2.2. So they actually caught more of the downside here in this case. Well, good job. IWMY was a bright spot today. It had a lot of buffer. You know, it was the strongest out of the other ones. Good job, IWMY. All right, so here's TLTW, the bond fund. Their parent asset, TLT, was down 1.6, and they were down 1. So that's about what you'd expect, catching. There's about a 35% buffer. All right, guys. I'm going to do this same report again next month. I hope you guys liked it. You guys have a wonderful evening.